Washington. Let me thank all of you for coming out. Let me thank Ben Jealous. Let me thank Cornel West. And let me thank all of you for being part of the political revolution. We have Thank you. You know, a little bit over a year ago, we began this campaign. And what the punditry thought is that the campaign would not go very far. Well, here we are in mid-June, and we're still standing. And we are standing after having won 22 states. And the results have not yet come in from California. We have won over 10 million votes. And in every state and non-state, I am aware of this issue here in Washington, D.C. And I hope that the next time I'm back, we're going to be talking about the state of Washington, D.C. But in every state and non-state that we have run in, we have won by very large votes, the young people. And the reason that that is significant is that this campaign is based on a vision that our country must focus on social justice, on economic justice, on racial justice, on environmental justice. And when the overwhelming majority of young people support that vision, that will be the future of America. This campaign has done as well as it has because we are doing something unusual in American politics. We're telling the truth. And the truth has to do with the reality of our lives as we experience it, not what we see on corporate television. And what is that reality? That reality is that we hear all of the time that we are a democracy. But the fact of the matter is, even excluding the issue of Washington, D.C., not having elected representatives in the Congress, is that all of you know that increasingly big money is buying elections. Right now, you have a couple of brothers called the Koch brothers. They are worth tens of billions of dollars, and they are determined to purchase the United States Senate for right-wing Republicans. When you have a handful of billionaires spending unlimited sums of money, you can call it whatever you want, but it sure is not democracy. In fact, it sounds to me like oligarchy. And what this campaign has been talking about from day one is the trend that we are seeing in our political life, in our economic life, in our media life of fewer and fewer wealthy people controlling this nation. And that type of drift toward oligarchy is something we must prevent. And that means overturning this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. It means moving to public funding of elections. Can you imagine two people, the Koch brothers, one family, in the process now of purchasing the United States Senate? My view is not only should we overturn Citizens United, but we should move toward public funding of elections. But it is not just a corrupt campaign finance system that we have got to address. It is a rigged economy. This is, if you add it all up, the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, but most people don't know that because almost all of the new income and wealth is going to the top 1%. The United States is not supposed to be a country which has more income and wealth inequality than any other major country on earth. We are not supposed to be a country where the top 0.1% now owns almost 90% of the wealth of this country. We are not supposed to be a country where the 20 wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom half of America, 150 million Americans. Income and wealth inequality and a rigged economy means that we are seeing a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, and yet walk 5 blocks away from here and we got people sleeping out on the street. A rigged economy is when a mother goes out to work and yet the wages that she earns are so low she cannot afford decent quality child care for her children or provide the security her kids need. A rigged economy is when the United States has the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. A rigged economy is when CEOs who make tens of millions a year cut back on the wages, cut back on the health care, cut back on the pensions of their workers. A rigged economy is when Wall Street's greed and recklessness and illegal behavior destroys the economy, and then the Congress bails them out. And a rigged economy is when Wall Street's illegal behavior ends up with no Wall Street executives going to jail. A rigged economy is when mom is working, dad's working, the kids are working, and 57% of all new income goes to the top 1%. Brothers and sisters, our job is to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. I have been in this campaign to Native American reservations. I was to Pine Ridge in South Dakota, and do you know that in Pine Ridge, life expectancy is lower than in many third world countries? I have been to Flint, Michigan, where the children are drinking water that is poisoned. I've been to Detroit, Michigan, where the public school system is on the verge of fiscal collapse. I've been to Baltimore, Maryland, where tens of thousands of people there are addicted to heroin and they cannot get the treatment that they need. This is the United States of America. We should not be having 47 million people living in poverty. This is the United States of America. We should not be living in a country where the very, very rich get richer while almost everybody else gets poorer. This is the United States of America, where in the last 25 years we have seen the middle class shrink and shrink and shrink, while almost all new wealth goes to the people on top. That is not what this country is about, and together we are going to change that. This campaign is not just about a corrupt campaign finance system. It is not just about a rigged economy. It is about a broken criminal justice system. Every person here and every person in this country should be embarrassed by the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. Why in God's name are we spending $80 billion a year to lock up 2.2 million fellow Americans? And it's our job to understand the cause of that issue and to resolve it. And that means, for a start, we know that in community after community throughout this country, in inner cities and in rural America, we have youth unemployment rates of 30, 40, 50%. And when young people are hanging out on street corners, when they are not in school, when they are not at work, bad things can happen. So what I think, and I know you think, is that it makes a lot more sense for us to be investing in jobs and education for our young people rather than jails and incarceration. I want our young people in school, not rotting in jail cells. I want this country to have the best educated population in the world, not more people in jail than any other country. But when we look at the criminal justice issue, it is not just the fact that we have high youth unemployment. It is also necessary for us to look at local police departments all across this country. Now, I was a mayor for 8 years in Burlington, Vermont. Work with police officers all over this country. The average police officer works hard, is honest, and is trying to do a good job. But like any other public official, when a police officer breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. It is time for us to demilitarize local police departments. It is time for us to